My name is John Escobales. I'm a martial artist and a writer. That's all I'm willing to admit to, anyway. As a kid, I found comics in my cousin's bedroom, and I obviously got a kick out of them. And then I had an uncle who used to drive a truck, and he would bring me piles of comic books every weekend. And he brought me all the good stuff, like the Black Panther comics and Unknown Soldier comics, Master Kung Fu comics. None of the Superman and Batman stuff. I always got the scary comics and the darker comics, and I still enjoy those ones the best. When I was in high school, there was a comic book shop in my hometown, and me and my friends hung out there. Eventually, the owner of that comic book shop went on to run a comic book distribution center, and he knew a lot of people in the business, a lot of artists, a lot of writers, and they would always stop in and hang out. And so I just kind of found my way in that way. After the guy who ran the comic book shop went on to run the comic book distribution center, two other guys took over the store, and one of them was used to be the apprentice for a famous artist named Wally Wood. And Wally Wood is one of the guys who created the Daredevil costume, but he's famous for much more than that. He's just one of the greatest artists the art form has ever known. And so me and my friend would hang around the shop with him as well, and we learned a lot, and we got to meet some of the biggest legends in the industry, and they would come down and draw and give us tips on pointers on art and stories and what was good and what was not good coming out at that time in the early 80s, which was a great time for comic books. Process of creating a comic book, in my experience, as a independent creator, is to come up with the idea, get it on paper, the idea, the writing part of it, and then to hunt around for an artist that will help draw it for you. I'm not as good an artist as I would like to be. I'm not as fast or as patient to get it together the way it needs to be done, so I had to find an artist to do it for me. And artists are a tricky bunch. So from there, if you can find one you can collaborate with and move forward with it. Once you guys can agree with what's drawn on the page, you have to go on to finding someone to color it and find someone to letter it, and all that takes more time and a lot of money. But it's a great process to see it coming together. My book, Martin Chase, Human Weapon, is a action adventure book with a sort of along the lines of the Bourne Identity. And the other Bourne films, and it's got a geopolitical background to it. It takes place in the real world, and puts these slightly larger than life characters into the real world situations. But it's also based on things I read in the newspaper. It's based on the story of Somalia, and there's some of the early parts of the war in Afghanistan, the Jawbreaker operation, where they were trying to catch bin Laden before the war broke out, and all those things are part of the story of Martin Chase and his four friends, and how they end up where they are, where the book starts off. New York Comic Con. This was the first year I went as a exhibitor. We had our own table, and it was great. It was great to hand out 700 copies of my book and to sign a bunch of them, and to meet all these different people, and to get the feedback from it afterwards was great. So yeah, it was a good experience, and I'm looking forward to it again next year and all the other cons that we have planned coming up. It was a great experience, and I got to run into a lot of old friends and meet a few celebrities, so it was cool. How did I get into martial arts? My father taught martial arts as a kid. He was a kid when I was a kid, when I was born. He taught martial arts, and we lived in Waterbury in the 70s, and martial arts was huge. It was everywhere in the movie theaters and everything, and he didn't want me to get beat up as one of the only white kids in our neighborhood. So he started teaching me martial arts, and from there, it's just been a part of my everyday life. Obviously, same as everybody else, Bruce Lee is a huge inspiration, not only for his training, but for his philosophy. And Joe Louis was a huge inspiration on me as a kid. Bill Wallace. Today, Nir Mamin is a huge influence on me. There's a few more probably. Dan Inosanto. A few more I'm probably skipping, but that kind of rounds it up right there. My family thinks it's pretty cool most of the time, but I do spend a lot of time locked in a room by myself while they're off doing other things, and it can become a strain on a family. But they've been really great about it. So I'm not sure why a lot of people do it. Most of the time, I get people who come in and they either want to keep in shape or they want to learn how to fight. The whole point of martial arts is to learn about yourself. It teaches you what you can do, what you're physically and mentally capable of. That's the point of martial arts. If you want to learn how to fight, well, you'll learn that to some degree. But if you don't take the spiritual aspect with it, you're not going to get everything there is to get out of it. I've been teaching for probably 18 years now. It wasn't anything I ever really wanted to get into. It was just something I was asked to help out at the school that I was teaching at. And I found that I loved the results from transferring the information from me to them and to see them get it, especially in children. Children probably saved my life because at that time I had to teach the rules to kids: self-control, self-discipline, and respect, and I didn't use any of those myself. So for me to stand in front of a room full of kids who were all looking at me with those bright eyes, and for them to tell me, for me to have to explain this to them, and after the first time doing it, I walked away feeling like a complete liar. I felt terrible. So I I managed to start incorporating those things into my own life, and so teaching kind of saved my life. Teaching these kids saved my life without a doubt. So I trained in Tang Soo Do, which is Korean karate. My father taught that, and that was the main thing I started with. From there, I went on to Kung Fu, and from there, I just started bouncing around to ninjutsu, to Tai Chi, to Jeet Kune Do, which is Bruce Lee's martial art, and eventually to Kempo, American Kempo, and then to Krav Maga, which is where I am now. And I even did a little boxing in there. There was an ad up in a coffee shop or something somewhere where they were looking for martial artists for a local production of a martial arts film. They had a open casting call, and I went, and I became quick friends with the guy putting the whole thing together, and I made a lot of other friends there, and I ended up helping out and being part of that film quite a bit. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot, and I even got offered a couple other roles after that never materialized because the funding never was there for these other small-time guys. It's kind of a it's your classic martial arts type of movie. There's a lot of fighting. It has to do with this magic ring that appears, and all these different people get one of these magic rings, and when they run into each other, they have to duke it out. And whoever wins gets the ring. Whoever gets the most rings at the end, it gets the prize. Sort of like Highlander, I guess, in a way. And that was kind of the gist of it. And then there was a kind of a cool twist at the end of the movie that I don't want to give away for anybody who hasn't seen it. And that was about it. It was a cool movie. It was fun to work on. My ultimate goal, to spend my days training and writing, and to pay off my house. That's about it.